Yo, it's your boy Dctree, and this is Dctree-Nation, the channel on YouTube that covers hoops and heroes. And today we're talking hoops. We're talking about San Antonio Spurs, y'all. And I gotta tell you, I'm a little late with this video because of the whole Thanksgiving thing and holidays and family. But it's been a whole lot of complaining in Spurs Nation about the Spurs and their lack of moves. The Spurs and their lack of commitment of making the team better, etc. And don't get me wrong, the Spurs organization isn't perfect. They're due for some criticism here and there. But I do think for the bulk of it that the complaining and the whining is unwarranted. Come on, guys, it's unwarranted. So I came up with 3 reasons why you should stop complaining, stop whining about nothing, Spurs Nation. But before I jump too deep into it, if you like my content, please sub to the channel. Okay, I'm just gonna jump straight into it. Okay, my first reason for you to stop complaining, and when I say you, I'm just talking about the selected few that want to complain about the Spurs and their lack of moves. The first thing you should know as a Spurs fan, if you're a real Spurs fan, if you've been around, for a couple decades, you see what I'm saying, 10, 15, 20 years, if you've been around this length of time, you already know the Spurs aren't going to do anything. So why do people always get their hopes up about the Spurs making this blockbuster trade, or the Spurs making this blockbuster move, or the Spurs signing this big time free agent doing a 4 or 5 team deal? It's not going to happen with the Spurs organization. And it's because the Spurs are very conservative, okay? They make the simple bounce pass, no fancy stuff. And it has served them well over these last couple decades. We just missed the playoffs for the first time in 20 plus years. So you kind of got to give them the benefit of the doubt. So guys, if you really know the Spurs, if you really know how they never really take chances, you shouldn't be that hurt. You shouldn't be complaining. We should have known this was coming. ESPN, that gives us these projections. Oh, they're going to do this with the pick. They're going to move up to the second pick. They're going to trade LMA. They're going to do all the... No, they're not going to do anything because the Spurs have always built their team through the draft, okay? Tim Duncan, #1 pick. David Robinson before him, #1 pick. Manu Ginobili came along through the draft. Tony Parker through the draft, okay? The biggest move the Spurs have ever made in the modern era. You get what I'm saying? I've been a fan since I was 8, and that was around the David Robinson era. Was LaMarcus Aldridge, really? Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but it's really LaMarcus Aldridge. That's probably the biggest signing that they ever did. How did that turn out for us? Exactly. Think about how did that turn out for us. Now, granted, I think LaMarcus Aldridge has held up his part of the bargain for the most part. I feel like if we would have kept Kawhi would have been healthy. We could have got us a championship or 2. So I don't necessarily blame LMA. But at the same time, a lot of fans want to see him gone. A lot of fans aren't really happy with what he did. But they want the Spurs to make all these trades and take these chances and stuff. And the one time they did, it didn't necessarily work out. You get what I'm trying to say? So if you're a Spurs fan, you already know. You already know it's not going to happen, guys. So just, pump your brakes before you complain a little bit. Okay, the second reason why you should stop whining is the Spurs had a really good draft, man. They did what they were supposed to do. They had a really good draft considering the circumstances. The Spurs defensively were not where they usually are. They weren't playing Spurs defense. So they went out and got them a player that can play defense. And Vassell, he can actually play defense. That's his strength, to play defense. Then the Spurs were very low when it came to 3-point percentage or 3-point attempts, whatever you want to say. They didn't shoot the 3 very well. Guess what? Vassell can shoot the 3 and he can defend. That's 2 problems you're taking care of. Maybe not completely. We don't know this guy's ceiling just yet. We don't know his basketball IQ as far as the NBA just yet. But they addressed it. He went number 11. This was a weaker draft. You can't really complain about that move, okay? Then they get your boy from Duke, Trey Jones, and people keep saying, another guard? Guys, look around. It's a guard-focused league. Look at the Houston Rockets, which was a better team than us, by the way, last year. If we're being honest, I know we hate the Rockets. I'm with you. But they were better than us last year. They had the smallest lineup I ever seen. Okay? I'm 5'9". I could have played center for them. You get what I'm saying? So stop saying another guard. Yes, another guard. And guess what? This guard can play defense. Okay? If we get this guy in the rotation and he doesn't spend all year in Austin, which he might, knowing Popovich, that's a whole nother video. But if we can get him on the court, get him some minutes, you got Murray, you got White, you got Vassell, you got this guy, man, the Spurs are looking really good on the perimeter as defensively, okay? Remember, Forbes is gone. People wanted Forbes gone for the longest. But what people don't realize is the reason why Forbes and Bellinelli played so many minutes is because they could actually shoot. Okay, no one on the Spurs can shoot last year. Think about it. Vassell had shooting 40% from three. Trey Jones, he struggled with his jumper, but he's made improvements. His rookie year, he only shot 26% from three, which is terrible. But by the time he became a sophomore, okay, put the work in or whatnot, he was able to lift that to 36%. Okay, you telling me Chip England can't keep him at that percentage, or maybe take him a step higher? So there's potential there. So before you bash, they got another guard, think about the situation, guys. Think about the situation. And the Spurs did well. They signed Pirtle, they signed Lyles. You see them? They got Eubanks. You don't need a David Robinson, and really a Tim Duncan up front. Now, would that help? Heck yeah, it would help. But outside of Anthony Davis, it's a lot of guards and small forwards the Spurs have to really worry about defending. So having, maybe, C+, B- type centers is fine, because the center position itself is fading away. So y'all, stop complaining, man. Stop complaining. Okay, and this last reason I've addressed on the channel before and in other videos, particularly when dealing with Murray and dealing with some of the frustrations surrounding our younger players. Guys, there is no golden goose to save the Spurs right now, okay? There's a lot of comparisons to the Lakers and all the moves they made this offseason and how they're able to get free agents and yada, yada, yada. Listen, let's take a step back. The Lakers are in position to win championships because they have LeBron James. Just like the Brooklyn Nets are going to be in position to win a championship because they have Kevin Durant. Seeing that he, comes back healthy and whatnot, okay? You got to have a top tier player. The Spurs don't have a top tier player in the works. They have to build through the draft. So there is no, hey, let's trade LMA for who? Wiggins? What? Wiggins isn't going to be a game changer for the Spurs. Now, if the Spurs were to pull the trigger on that deal and say, hey, we're building towards the future, I couldn't do anything but respect that if that's what they wanted to do. That's why, I was an advocate for them to possibly trade DeMar DeRozan for Kyle Kuzma. Not necessarily because I thought Kuzma was going to push us to the next level or push us to a championship contender or even push us to making the playoffs, but I felt like, hey, he's better, to build around, younger, and we may lose DeRozan. It's still a possibility. We may lose DeRozan and LMA for nothing. Okay, that's the dark horse or the big elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. But this frustration with the Spurs isn't warranted because there were no moves for you to make. Okay, you trade for the second pick. You're still going to probably be in the lottery. You get what I'm saying? If the Golden State Warriors even want to make that move, that was just a rumor for the most part. I don't know how close we got to actually making that move, getting the second pick and Wiggins. It was no slam dunk, okay? Teams are in position to win because they have star players. Even if you take a team like the Miami Heat, which kind of overachieved last year, did really good in the bubble, at the end of the day, they still had Jimmy Butler. That's as close. I don't know if he's quite a superstar, but he was dang near close. You get what I'm saying? So remember, it's only so much the Spurs organization can do without that it player. We had that it player in Kawhi. He wanted to leave or whatever happened. Now the Spurs have to rebuild again. Do we have a couple players that could potentially be, you know, a Kawhi-like player like a Keldon Johnson, like a Vassell. I hope so. But as of right now, we kind of have to be realistic about the state of the Spurs and what they could realistically achieve. Even if they do trade Aldridge, even if they do trade DeRozan, even if they do make these blockbuster trades. If you're not getting LeBron, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, you get what I'm saying? Zion, somebody like that, you know, the chances of you winning the championship are still low. Now, don't get me wrong, you still play the games, you put the best team together you can, and you may become a Dallas Mavericks, you see what I'm saying, win the championship, or Toronto Raptors and win the championship, or Detroit Pistons and win the championship, you know, for 1 year. You may not be a dynasty, so maybe that's what the Spurs are shooting for these days. So we have to just kind of be realistic about what's out there. It was nothing out there. No Golden Goose to save the Spurs. Alright guys, this is it for this one. A bit of a long one today, but I really wanted to vent on what's going on in Spurs Nation. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the Spurs organization is perfect. I'm not saying there's no room for improvement. But at the same time, we got to pump our brakes and be realistic about the situation, guys. Realistic about the situation. There is no Golden Goose. You get what I'm saying? The Spurs are doing the right thing if history repeats itself by, you know, taking it slow, doing the simple bounce pass type of moves. And also, you know, give them credit for a hell of a good draft, you know, given the circumstances. You get what I'm saying? All right, guys, I got other videos on the channel that you should check out. If you're into heroes, please check that playlist out as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the comments. Peace.